Welcome. Welcome. We are live here. Moneyline MMA coverage. UFC Vegas. We got another fight night in the Apex. This one headlined by Roman Dolidze and Anthony Hernandez. This will be the final fight night card before our next pay-per-view, which will see my boy Khamzat challenging for the belt against Dricus du Plessis. But we can't get too far ahead of ourselves because we have a card to discuss for this Saturday before we get anywhere near that pay-per-view week. And also before we get into this Saturday, let's quickly discuss the results from last Saturday, in which Jose and I came out. We came out swinging, for the lack of a better term, and Jose and I combined went 9-1 from last Saturday night, win after win for Jose and I, and really that started with Rodolfo Vieira getting a decision win in the prelims against Tresean Gore. Rodolfo Vieira, my 5 weight, and he proves why he was my 5 weight. You know, that fight wasn't even close. All three judges, or actually, never mind, two of the three judges scored 30-27. Chris Lee did give Tresean Gore one of the 3 rounds. I'm not exactly sure which one. But in all likelihood, he gave Tresean Gore round 3, if I had to assume. But I could be wrong there. Either way, Rodolfo Vieira looking clean, looking good, doing everything I would have expected as my 5-weight pick. And also Jose's 2-weight. And kind of moving on from there, still a crazy good night. Neil Magny getting the job done, finishing Elio Zaleski dos Santos. We love that. The only loss of all of last Saturday night was Rebecki, Mateus Rebecki, getting beat, and that's on the lines of Chris Duncan. Like Jose and I were talking briefly about it before the show. Like you look at the stats for that fight, and it's like, what? How did Chris Duncan get the unanimous win? But from what I recall, that fight had an insane amount of damage dealt, and therefore, you know, Chris Duncan was able to win just based on beating Rebecki up and making him bleed. So very interesting there to see how much the damage played into the scorecards. Esteban Ribovics getting a decision win in fight of the night against Elvis Brenner, and of course the main event, Tatsuro Taira finishing Hyun Sung Park. It was kind of a slow burn of a first round. You know, almost 4 minutes of control time for Taira on the ground. 2 of 2 takedown attempts was kind of boring, but he really dominated and made it look easy. So keep looking for Taira to get fed opponents to move his way up the flyweight division. You know, we could see him in a year or two potentially getting to that top 3, top 5 area of that division. So we'll see. But that said, we're going to get into our picks for this Saturday afternoon. For anyone new here, we do our picks in a 5-weight system in which Jose and I pick 5 of the currently 11 scheduled fights for the card this Saturday. And we weigh those picks in order of confidence independently. And then right before the show, we tell each other our picks and weights just so we know what order to go in. Because in this case, we are going to go with our lock of the week first and go down the list from there. My lock of the week for Saturday afternoon, UFC Apex. Give us another card with pretty average fighters throughout it. You know, a whole bunch of guys you would expect on the prelims of a pay-per-view. But either way, at least we're getting fights instead of nothing. But that said, I'm going to the co-main event for my 5-weight pick of Saturday afternoon. We're going to kind of an up-and-comer, kind of a veteran. You know, it's actually kind of all over the place for this co-main event, but I'm going with Steve Erceg as my most confident pick to beat O'Day Osborne. Steve Erceg's coming into Saturday, at least, should I say he's coming into Monday afternoon for his Saturday fight at minus 560. That's quite steep, right? This isn't a pick I'm making for the spread. O'Day Osborne plus 370, and it makes sense, man. Steve Erceg is a dominant fighter, and he's only lost to challengers, champion challengers, or champions themselves. And he is really one of the best strikers in the UFC, and especially one of the best strikers in the division. You know, when you look at pound for pound, Steve Erceg's going to stand with you and bang. And that's kind of O'Day Osborne's game. O'Day Osborne does land some takedowns here or there. You know, his statistics will say just over 1 takedown per 15-minute fight. So, okay, sure. O'Day Osborne will land a takedown or 2 versus some opponents, but in general, he's just not that impressive to me. You know, he wins a split decision against Charles Johnson a couple of years ago, loses some fights against average fighters. You know, he beats Luis Garul. Great. It was a performance of the night. You know, second round finish. You love that for him. But To me, this is an interesting step up because Steve Erceg I still value very highly. And I think Steve Erceg cleans up Ode Osborne here. I'm going to go so far as to say Steve Erceg finishes Ode Osborne in this fight within the 15 minutes. Jose, what do you think?
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you on this one. I have Steve Erceg as well. He is my three-way. And reason is that he's not higher on my list is just because this is obviously a replacement fight, obviously for both. But so I still expect Usyk to get the job done just because he's already was expecting to have a fight tonight against Alex Perez originally. But oh yeah, I was going to like the Joshua Van fight too. Like it's just like some of these guys. And Adi Osborne's not Joshua Van, obviously, and like he's a lot older and more, but he is experienced and just being a last minute fighter too is can be a benefit as well. Like maybe he didn't get as much of a training camp, but guarantee he was still training, still somewhat in shape, and that's why he took the fight. And it's a big opportunity for him, and it's not just another paycheck. I'm sure he wants to collect. And Adi Osborne, he's in the past I've always I've actually rooted for him a lot just because based off the experience he's had and how flashy of a fighter can be, and he's a phenomenal striker, I think, but so is Urseg, and in this one too, I think Urseg is probably going to be the overall better grappler in this case. So that being said, I think Urseg is just almost going to win this one unanimously. Nothing too impressive. I don't think he'll put out Adi Osborne. Adi Osborne, like he if anything, Ursa could be a good could get a good opportunity to submit him. But out of his half of the wins that Urseg has had are actually by submission, and the level of competition that Urseg just had to face is just Alexander Pantoja, Kai Kara France, and Brandon Moreno, either former champs or title, and Kai Kara France challenging for the title multiple times. Urseg, yeah, like he's just a guy that got pushed too quick, too fast. I think he was like ranked 12 or 11 when he fought um, Pantoja when he fought for the belt. So, just because he had that phenomenal knockout punch against Matt Schnell, I don't know, they just kind of pushed him up too quick. Like, and I knew that was going to happen to him. Normally, these guys, if they're above the top 10 and they're fighting immediately someone in the top three, usually the guys in the top three always end up winning, no matter even if they're the underdog, like Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint Denis, and that was the same thing we predicted with Steve Erceg as well. And so that being said, in this one, I think him fighting Adi Osborne in all is a good matchup for him, and he should still get the win. I think he's gonna win overall unanimously. And if he does finish Osborne, I think it's gonna be more submission because I think the fight's gonna be a little closer though on the feet when it comes to striking. So this one, I'm going with Steve Erceg as well as my three weight. Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Sounds like it might be a lock of the week then, considering that's 8 combined confidence points there. It's fascinating to hear you say that you don't think Steve Erceg would get a knockout finish at least on Ode Osborne, and I see where you're coming from. Like Osborne's a tough dude, and he doesn't get finished much. Of course, looking at recency, he's gotten submitted more than he's gotten knocked out, but he still has been knocked out twice in the UFC. Yeah, okay, Manel Kape's a stud. Tyson Nam is also a pretty good fighter, but I don't know. To me, Steve Erceg outclasses him, and it's not necessarily like one of the like when I say knockout, that could also be technical knockout. It's not to say he actually makes out Ode Osborne unconscious. I just think he's going to have such a striking prowess that Erceg is just it's gonna be a flurry of punches. The ref has to stop the fight because Ode's just protecting himself, not dishing anything back. So could be wrong there, but I'm pretty confident Steve Erceg KO or TKO. So like I said, we'll track that.
Yeah. So yep. Oh, yep. Sorry. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. So that is definitely yeah. Sounds like our strong lock of the week with a combined 8 points. So yeah,
Absolutely,
I feel good about that one.
absolutely. But yeah, take it away, man. Five
And
way.
uh, and that being said, yeah, for my five weight, this comes down to the opener fight of the main card, the middleweight bout between Eric Anders and my bad. Why am I
CLD.
seeing on here? Middleweight. Yep, opening up right here. Middleweight bout between Eric Anders and Christian Leroy Duncan. Right now, Eric Anders, he is the betting underdog at plus 370, while Christian Leroy Duncan is the betting favorite at minus 560. This one, yeah, I'm gonna. I would like to go with your boy, but I'm actually gonna go with yes. Christian Leroy Duncan in this one. I think the dude's a stud, and he has not been. He's been in the UFC now for a while. I'm already a couple years, and that being said, he's only lost to Armin Petrosian, who's not in the UFC anymore. But Armin, honestly, that was actually a surprising cut that they made. Even like I just Armin put up some good fights, and he didn't have the perfect win loss ratio, but that's another thing. But like I don't know, he definitely is still a UFC caliber fighter. And then Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop, like. But other than that, like he has not beat anyone so big as of yet. But Eric Anders as well. Like Eric Anders is like he's 38. I'm not saying he's out there. He's coming off 2 wins, but he beat Chris Weidman and Jamie Pickett. Like those aren't necessarily the most impressive wins. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then before that, he loses to Marc-Andre Barrial, and then he beats Kyle Dawkins. So almost all the wins that like a lot of respect to Chris Weidman, because Chris Weidman still got some wins at the end of his career, but most of them, Chris Weidman took some brutal losses and obviously was way past his prime. And he actually he beat Bruno Silva, who's not in the UFC anymore. So Eric Anders, like he's just kind of aging and just beating some mediocre fighters. And again, with all respect to Chris Weidman, but again, he's not the same guy he was. And where Christian Leroy Duncan, like he's not being like anyone impressive like yet, but at least the people that Eric Anders has been is like these are known dudes to like get slept. Chris Weidman known to get slept. Jamie Pickett known to get slept. Kyle Dawkins get slept. So like there's no chins. Like not to be like super harsh on the opponents, but like I think Eric's gonna have a harder time putting out Christian Leroy Duncan, and that's the type of fighter that Eric Anders is. He likes, out of his 17 wins, he's got 10 KO/TKOs. He likes to throw those heavy haymakers and just a lot of power. And I think Christian Leroy Duncan is just going to overall have going to be a harder time to put out. I think he has the reach advantage in this one too. So in this one, yeah, Christian Leroy Duncan, he's only taller just slightly. He's 6'2", Eric Anders 6'1", but Christian Leroy Duncan has a 4-inch reach advantage. So I think Eric Anders is going to have a harder time landing those power shots when he does throw them, because he's explosive, just more explosive. He's not going to throw a high volume of punches all at once, but he's just going to throw heavy, hard throws every once in a while. And I think Christian Leroy Duncan's going to have a easy time avoiding those. And when it comes to the grappling department too, I can see Eric Anders trying to push Christian Leroy Duncan against the fence and taking him down and just going for the control time. If Christian Leroy Duncan can't defend that, then it could be a long night for him, but I still think he'll get the job done. Overall, I feel really good with him. I'm going to take Christian Leroy Duncan. In terms of finishing, if he's going to get the finish or not, that's tough to say. Eric Anders isn't really the guy to get finished. So I think this one is probably going to, if anything, go more to decisions. So that being said, yeah, I got Christian Leroy Duncan as my 5 weight. And like I said, yep, he is a minus 560 favorite. Eric Anders a plus 370 underdog. Nick, do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Dude, in the end, I'm gonna agree with you on CLD, but I don't have an official weight on this pick. I'm a big fan of your boy Eric Anders. He's coming off a couple straight wins, and his losses are guys I have a lot of respect for. I like Marc-Andre Barrial. I thought Marc-Andre Barrial was looking really good against Shara and debatably won that fight, but well, the judges are going to say otherwise. Honestly, and Barrial had a much more boring game plan either way, so it's hard not to bias the guy who's more entertaining. But either way, CLD, he should get the job done. Yeah, Gregory Rodriguez and Armin Petrosian are both tough dudes to lose to. Like, as in, like, those guys are really good boxers, and I don't blame, like, that's just, those are guys you're going to lose to, as a veteran in the UFC here and there. So either way, I like Christian, CLD. No official weight. So that'll
Sounds good. So yeah, this one, yeah. Oh, but
that'll keep. No, you're good. That'll keep 5. Okay, so we got 8 weight, 5 weight. We still got lock of the week. They're gonna be Steve Ursag. I'll go to my 4 weight though next. Excuse me. We're gonna stay on the main event for this 4 weight. I'm looking at a bantamweight bout. I'm looking at Gene Matsumoto here. I'm looking at Gene Matsumoto to dismantle Miles Johns. I really think this is a situation where it's like a passing of the torch, and it really kind of just boils down to that. Looking at the odds, Gene Matsumoto's minus 330. Miles Johns plus 240. So somewhat big. 3-1 favorite is Gene Matsumoto. He's coming off a loss against Rob Font, and honestly, Jose and I think we didn't have picks on that in our show, but that was a fight like you could tell like it would have been classic. Just how I picked Dan Ige recently as a veteran, like it's a classic veteran moment. If anything, I'm impressed that Matsumoto brought it to split decision. That means one of the judges thought Matsumoto won that fight. So hey, that's really all I need to see out of a guy as young as Matsumoto. He's still growing and still getting better each fight. And Miles Johns is kind of just a stopgap veteran. So I really think this is like a perfect storyline pick to where Matsumoto comes back off a loss, beating Miles Johns, and kind of pushes his UFC trajectory back up. I mean, if he loses this fight, Matsumoto's completely written off as a prospect. Completely written off. He's debatably not even going to have a contract at at this time next year. So yeah, that said, I think Matsumoto gets the job done. I don't think it's too much more complicated just than the storyline pick and the fact that he is just as good, if not better, of a striker as Miles Johns. So this matchup makes sense. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, this one I actually do not have any picks on it. This one I like the Gene Matsumoto pick, but also Miles Johns like he this one I just not because it's just one of those where I'm just torn in between because also for Miles Johns as well. He's been in the UFC a bit longer. He has seen a few more. I think he has a better. He's gone against a little more tougher dudes, and he even has a win over Adrian Yanez right before he did Dana White's Contender Series. He did win that by split decision, but he has shown to beat some like dudes that are kind of contending. And you can argue too is whether Adrian Yanez is a contender or not anymore. But he has faced some dudes that are just not the biggest names, but are some names. And that being said, like Matsumoto, like that loss to Rob Font really did kill his momentum, but that was also a split decision loss. So I agree. Like if he does get back into the win column, if he does get back into the, I should say, into the same guy he was before losing that Rob Font fight, which and what I mean by that is just showing up to win and looking dominant, not even by split. Then yeah, he should walk through Miles Johns is what I'm trying to say. But it's just a tough one. Like this one overall was a tough one for me to pick on. So I have no ranking.
Well, you never know if old Miles Johns is getting through the drug tests and taking some more steroids. So yeah, if that's the case, he's probably going to get the win anyway. But yeah, that dude's been busted. He beat Dan Argueta. Both of these guys. It's funny enough, both of these guys beat Dan Argueta. I was looking at that, and that made me realize that the Dan Argueta fight got overturned for Miles Johns because he got caught with steroids. So very interesting. With the new anti-doping program at the UFC, who really knows, man? Who really knows? Just saying.
And that's something else that we got to worry about, man. The FE on because like, yeah, I mean, honestly, if he's actually clean now, that says a lot too. That would be he may not be as I don't want to say as good, but yeah, it could mean something different for sure. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to
yeah,
see.
um,
Okay, so that'll be a 4 weight,
but
no weight for Jose, 4 for me, and looks like we'll actually have a little bit more fights to discuss. We usually have mostly picks on the same fights, but tonight we don't. So we'll see what Jose's got though in store for his 4 weight.
yeah. So for my 4-weight, this already brings us up to the main event, the middleweight bout between Roman Dolidze and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Right now, Anthony is the betting favorite at minus 350, while Roman Dolidze is the betting underdog at plus 255. This one, I am going with Anthony Hernandez just because like he's just been on a roll and he's been beating people that I didn't think he was going to be. Like I think I picked against him the last couple fights. And he's just been on a roll. Like the names he's beating, like are dudes that are in the win column, like a lot as of recently, like Brendan Allen, Michelle Pereira, Roman Kopilov, Edmund Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barrial, Josh Frem, Rodolfo Vera. Like he's been on a roll. Like it's not just been like he's been stepping up to the plate every time. And like Brandon Allen too, I thought that was a fight he was going to lose, and he beats him unanimously. And then Brandon Allen comes back and he beats Vittori himself recently, which Vittori has kind of fallen off, but still like Brandon Allen, before losing to Fluffy, he only lost to Nasruddin Nemavov, who obviously is now like becoming a contender in this division. And but before those two losses in a row, he was on his own kill streak from like 2022, and he racked up a good amount of wins during that time. So, and then Fluffy to come in, and like I feel like he's made like a big splash for how long he's been in the UFC, and so like in he's a very active fighter, extremely active, and he's just again like he's just been stepping up to the plate. And I think like the Roman Dolidze is a fighter that he should be able to beat, just because Roman Dolidze, he himself is on a tear streak, but he beat Marvin Vettori, who again I just said is kind of fallen off a little bit. Kevin Holland, who is really a welterweight, like Kevin Holland at middleweight is he's gotten some wins for sure, but he's definitely a better welterweight. And then Anthony Smith too, which was a light heavyweight. But Anthony Smith again, that's an old Anthony Smith too. That was also like on his way out of the UFC. And so his wins versus Fluffy's wins don't really impress me as much. Like even like if I saw these names on Fluffy's resume, like I would say the same thing. I just don't think it's as impressive yet. And so that being said, I do think Roman Dolidze is someone that Fluffy should be able to beat. Fluffy brings high pressure, high volume of punches, and Roman Dolidze himself, like he also throws a high volume of punches. He just him being like he's just I think like a more thicker guy, just more dense, so he's gonna have more power behind his punches. But he does absorb a high number of punches as well. He pretty much absorbs what he throws out. He lands 3.58 significant strikes per minute, but he absorbs 3.56. While as Anthony Hernandez, he lands 4.5 per minute and he absorbs 2.61. So his volume versus how often Roman Dolidze gets hit is a recipe for Roman Dolidze actually to be knocked out, which I didn't like. He's never been knocked out, but that's normally how that goes. Like those get like Fluffy could actually put out Roman Dolidze just because how often he gets touched and the volume that Fluffy throws. So if not, it's just gonna be then a straight to unanimous decision win for Anthony Hernandez. So I feel really good about Fluffy. He is my 4-weight. What are your thoughts on this one, Nick?
Man, you do a good job keeping me on my toes because I'm over here surprised that you're admitting that Hernandez could potentially knock out Dolidze. Usually, if a guy's never been finished before, it's you're on the train of like he won't get finished again. And Roman Dolidze is in that boat, man. And that's not to say that Roman Dolidze is a guy that I'm super confident in. In fact, I'm not even picking him. I've got Anthony Hernandez as my one weight, but that's really the one weight reasoning. Like I have a lot of respect for Dolidze, and to be honest, the spread to me is a little disrespectful too. I mean, looking at Anthony Hernandez, it's a 3.5 to 1 favorite against Roman Dolidze plus 255. I mean, that's kind of disrespectful, man. This guy's on a 3-fight win streak. He's lost to who? Nasruddin Imavov, who people are saying should be getting a title shot. He's lost to who? Marvin Vettori. Okay, fair. Marvin Vettori's not that good. All right, fair. But that was also back in 2023. I'd like to think Dolidze is realizing that he's on his last run. He's 37 years old. He's gonna have to continue winning fights to get to that belt that he wants. Or he's really written in. Like if he wins or excuse me loses at any point from now until him getting a title shot, he's not getting a title shot ever again or ever at all. And I see the hype with Fluffy, and that's why I'm picking Fluffy in the end. I do believe he wins this fight. I see it. Fluffy's been great, and Brendan Allen is a super like that was to me the win where I was like I was kind of a doubter, kind of a hater. He beats Brendan Allen though. And I'm like, dang, like okay, this dude's actually pretty good, and it's hard to deny. So I see the vision. I think Hernandez wins this, but to put money on 3.5 to 1 is crazy against Dolidze. I mean, Dolidze is going to be a little bigger in there. I do believe that Dolidze, he might not have quite as good wrestling, so I could see it kind of being boring if Hernandez gets his way. But Dolidze is a big, strong dude. I predict him being able to get up too. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. So with that said, man, I got a one weight on Fluffy. So yeah. With that said, oh, I
Yeah,
think you're
fair enough.
muted.
So yeah,
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
yeah, this is another one. Yeah, this is another one we both agree on. Another lock for us both, but definitely not as high as the Steve Ursak pick, but Definitely the. I guess this looks like to be the second highest.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's kind of equal because CLD is your 5 weight, and you picked them yourself too. So I guess it's technically equal to that, but like that's the highest one. Second highest one we both at least agree on so far, for sure. But
True, true.
the other thing too is I was laughing because anyone who had listened last week remember that Jose was having a little connection issues. So there was a moment there where we were seeing your lips move and we didn't hear your voice yet. So that's why I was about to say that you were muted, but you aren't. You weren't because we heard you. But it's been good. Like even if it's been a little off, we've still been able to hear you at least. It hasn't been like fully cut off your voice. So we at least got that going for us. But I'm gonna move forward. We've covered our fives, our fours. It's time to start getting down into our lower weights here. And for my 3 weight of Saturday afternoon, I'm gonna keep us in the main card. It's gonna be the feature bout of Saturday afternoon. We're gonna be talking about some women's MMA here for a minute. This is Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill, UFC women's strawweight bout. And look, this is kind of the same mindset, same process, ideology, as I was thinking with Miles Johns and Gene Matsumoto, kind of a passing of the torch situation. This is a pick kind of against Angela Hill as much as is a little more than it is as for Lucindo. Lucindo's minus 192, Angela Hill's plus 148. That's not bad. This is women's MMA, so anything can happen. You got to keep that in mind. You almost never want to bet women's MMA, period, in general, unless it's like Kayla Harrison versus anyone besides Amanda Nunes. But that said, Angela Hill's coming in off a split decision win, off a loss. Angela Hill's Angela Hill. We all know if you've been around the UFC. I mean, she's been in the UFC for what feels like forever now. She's been at the top, of women's MMA in general for years, but in the UFC, no longer, man. Yasmin Lucindo's only 23, but I do believe she's going to come in here and clean up Angela Hill. I think this is another like storyline moment for the UFC. I think this is, hey, anyone who's grown up watching Angela Hill, let's throw her in a fight against Lucindo so that they can all watch Angela Hill get dusted by Lucindo, and we can move on with this potential new prospect at the strawweight division. And look, I know Lucindo's coming off a loss against Lemos. Lemos a great fighter, and there could be a rematch coming up. That was only a decision loss, so that wasn't anything like you got knocked out cold or anything. Lucindo, to me, I like to think she's growing and learning with each fight. She's 23 years old, man. That's crazy. She's going to be getting better. This isn't the final form of Lucindo, and I think we're going to see some sort of evolution. So, like I said, as much as it is for Lucindo, I think it's double for the fact that I'm just not big on Angela Hill either. She's either going to get a decision win or it's a loss outright, for sure. 100% in that. So, pick on Lucindo 3 weight. Any thoughts, Jose?
Yeah, this one, this is a fight that was really tough for me. I don't have a rank on it just because um I want to go against Angela Hill, but as of lately, the last few times I've just been picking against her. It's just not been going my way. I just everyone but like Tabitha Ricci. I did go for Tabitha Ricci, I remember, but Kaylin Souza, I picked Angela Hill. I picked against her, and she ended up winning. And then Tabitha Ricci, I went for Tabitha Ricci. She ended up losing. And then the two before it as well. It's just kind of hit or what I'm trying to say. It's like a hit or miss, like very coin flip, kind of like Neil Magny type of. She's up there in age, just very experienced. 18 wins, 14 losses, and I honestly like it. Just surprises me, like just the people like she beats and then who she loses to. It's just what version of her is going to show up, and then she's pretty much like out of her 18 wins, she's won 12 by decision as well. So, or she's also lost 12 of her fights by decision. So again, it is like a Neil Magny situation where it's gonna go one or the other. She's gonna dominate the whole fight and not really get the finish, or she's just gonna be dominated majority of the fight and not get finished. And so for me, I can see this fight almost being like a coin flip as well because I logically want to go for Lucendo. She's a lot younger. She's got youth on her side, and but the thing is, Angela Hill has the vet experience and just that all that knowledge and technicality. Like she's still going at it because she's continuously training. And Lucendo, she's a finisher, but will she be able to finish Angela Hill? I don't know. So it's just a very tough one. It depends what version of Angela Hill shows up. Is like I would want to pick against her, but she just sometimes just sees like she just surprises me so much now. Like good or bad. So it's just a hard one. So for me to pick. So I literally have no like I'm just trying to say I literally have like no pick. Like this would be a fight like I wouldn't even want to bet on to be honest. But yeah,
Well,
those are my
that's
thoughts
not.
on that
Yeah,
fight.
that's dude. You're exactly right on why you don't bet on women's MMA. Like, why would you be so questionable on a pick and then bet on it anyway? That makes no sense. The only bet you make on women's MMA in general, period, no questions asked, no matter the fighter, is over 3.5 or over 2.5. That's it. Over 2.5, you're gonna win 80% of your bets and you're good to go. It's that easy. Women's MMA is not hard to bet. You just stay away from taking a side. You go over 2.5. Over 2.5. You'll see it win time after time. It's really, like I said, it's not complicated math. It's not. Go look at all these women fighters and see how many decision wins they have compared to anything else. It's hilarious. So that said, uh, Jose doesn't have a pick, and I can totally see why. I'm taking Yasmin Lucindo because I see someone, mainly a storyline pick, honestly. And from there, it's a slight favorite. And we've got two more weights from Jose, one for me, and we'll let Jose take his two weight next.
So for the my next pick, this is actually going to be the main event of the prelims, and it's the lightweight heavyweight bout between Julius Walker and Rafael Sakara. And right now, Julius Walker, he is a big he's actually a minus 620 uh favorite over Rafael, who's a uh plus 400 underdog. And this one, I'm going for Julius Walker. He's not as experienced in the UFC, but let me tell you, like, for making his debut and going split decision loss to Alonzo Menifield, which Alonzo Menifield has had like, I don't know, like 15 to 16 fights since he's joined the UFC. And he's beating like Paul Craig in the first round. He's beating Jimmy Crute twice, Omar Sy, and actually, and so like he's a pretty well experienced guy, and he's lost to like Ovin St. Preux, William Knight, Carl Solberg. So Devin Clark, like he's fought like a bunch of dudes that are like not the top five guys, but dudes that have been kind of in and out of like the top 15, and just kind of lingering in that area. So for Julius Walker to just show up and with a lot less experience, young, 26 years old, and just to go toe to toe with them and make it to the third round, that says a lot what the UFC thinks about him. So I'm not really surprised that he's actually favored in this one because then he's also going against Rafael Sakara, who's on a two-fight losing streak to Ibo Asian and Modestus Bakuska. So and he got finished both in the first round. So that like his UFC, both of these guys obviously have yet to win in the UFC, but I just think Julius Walker put up a better argument for himself to be the winner of this fight, just based off him losing the split decision against someone a lot more experienced than him. Alonzo Menifield's probably also a lot older than him. Again, Julius Walker being 26, Alonzo Menifield, yeah, being 37. So, and then Rafael Sakara, he's 11-2 and he's 35 years old. And he's got some experience, like, but just not nearly as much as like some of the other fighters that Julius Walker has faced in the past. And Julius Walker himself too, he's a finisher. Both fights that Sakara lost, again, first round TKO/KO, and out of the 6 wins that Julius Walker has, 4 of them come via KO/TKO. So, I think this is a good fight set up for him to get a finish as well, to get that knockout/TKO finish. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one. He's a slightly bigger guy as well. He's 6'4". Rafael Sakara, he's 6'3", and Julius Walker has a 2-inch reach advantage over Sakara. So I think overall, yeah, like I think this is a good fight for Julius Walker. So he is my two-way I probably should have moved him up higher. I feel really good about him, but yeah, as of right now, he's just my two-way. Just uh, another reason, I guess he's just so low. The reason why I originally put him as two is just because we have not seen enough of him also within the UFC. So that's just the other thing. He's just one fight in. So at least Akira, we already seen him twice, and he's been finished both times in the first round. So that also is kind of why I lean towards Julius Walker. But Nick, do you have any thoughts on this fight?
Man, I couldn't take a side here. I'm with you at your last point, man. You said it. You said it. Neither of these guys has enough experience, and I think it's almost like bait looking at Sakara and seeing, oh my gosh, he got finished twice in a row. He's awful. He's dog crap. Oh my, he's so terrible. Like I'm not. I agree that yeah, Julius Walker looks better here, but I don't know enough about these guys. I'm not picking it because yeah, this is really like a toss up to see who gets to keep their UFC contract. You know what I'm saying? And it kind of it feels like that's what it is. So I'm going to leave that one out and just enjoy whoever gets to continue their career in the UFC.
Yes, sir. So yeah, this one my two way. You have no pick. Yeah, I'm excited to see more Julius Walker come this Saturday.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up one of my favorite fighters in a card in which one of my favorite fighters fights. And of course, I'm biased because this guy is one of my favorites just based on the fact that he is from the same area I am. That is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We've got Christian Rodriguez on this card. He's fighting out of Rufus Sport. Big time rep of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He's fighting Andre Touchy Feely. I hate that nickname, but I say it anyways with disgust. But either way, Andre Feely, a big bodied 145 pounder, 5'11, 74-inch reach. Christian Rodriguez, 5'7, 71-inch reach. So we're taking a smaller body here against a guy who really, this should be a smaller cage as well, where you would think size might matter a little bit more because you can't use distance as much in a bigger pay-per-view cage or even just like a normal cage outside the apex. But that said, I'm taking Christian Rodriguez. I think he's got more technical ability. I mean, look at the striking differences alone. Both these guys have had enough fights in the UFC to have some more balanced stats, right? It's not like one fight of data. And Andre Feely has a negative zero point 0.3 striking differential, and Christian Rodriguez has a positive one striking differential. So that's pretty impressive to me to see that big of a difference there. And Andre and Christian have some wrestling acumen. I see these guys to be somewhat similar in wrestling, but Christian Rodriguez is the one with the experience getting submissions, 4 submission wins, 1 submission loss. And Andre has been finished 3 times via submission, almost as recently as Melquiz El Costa earlier this year. So that said, I'm going to take Christian Rodriguez as my 2-weight. I'm somewhat confident in him. I think he's got more overall abilities. And he is a 2.5 to 1 favorite against Andre Feely. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, Nick. So for this one, I agree with you. I have Christian Rodriguez, and obviously, like he's my final pick. He's my one weight. And the reason is just that the reason why I'm going for him is as you mentioned, I do think he has all the tools. He's a well-rounded fighter. And then Andre Feely, to be honest, like he has a lot of experience, 24 wins and 12 losses, but just he's shown like he actually has no chin. Like he's only been, even though he's been knocked out only 4 times, he has shown to get rocked a lot. Even if he doesn't get knocked out, he does get rocked. And I think Christian Rodriguez will be able to rock him a few times, maybe not finish him, but definitely just rock him. And I think overall he's going to be the more overall more well-rounded fighter. So that being said, yeah, I got Christian Rodriguez. He does have disadvantages, like like you mentioned, he is the smaller fighter in this one, and he does not have the reach advantage at all whatsoever in this. But what he does is he just, I think overall has a better stand-up game. He won't be clipped as much as Andre Feely as long as he just is able to close the distance and get through Andre Feely's uh, reach. And but that being said, I think he's going to do a good job of closing the distance and trying to get into the grappling exchanges, and from there hurt and rock Feely up. But I can't say whether he'll finish Feely or not. It's tough. Feely, I know, like, again, I know he has no chin, but I don't know if Christian Rodriguez is one of those dudes that will be able to knock him out, just because C-Rod, he does mostly go to either the decision or gets the submissions. He's only got 3 knockouts on his record, and it looks like they have yet to actually even happen in the UFC. So yeah, I think Andre Feely very he is a very touchy guy in terms of he's touchable. Like definitely Christian Rodriguez should be finding that chin and hitting him. So that being said, I got C-Rod, but he's my one weight.
All right, so that'll close it out. Then we've got a lot of agreements here tonight, and I'm not surprised. There's a lot of heavy favorites as well, and although I think we did pick majority favorites here tonight, just keep in mind that not all the favorites are likely to win, and it's one of those things where in each individual scenario you might have a minus 300 or 400 spot, but back to back to back, those odds are not favorable. Um, but either way, that just goes to show Jose and I are pretty happy with the favorites, and we don't really disagree too much. At least for me, the only part I could disagree on is, like I said, with Fluffy Hernandez. I think Dolidze is getting a little disrespected with that line, but in the end, I do see Fluffy still getting the win. But that said, make sure to tune in next week because, of course, as I said at the beginning of the show, at the top of the hour, we are going to be discussing the pay-per-view fight next week at this time. So make sure to subscribe and let us know down below who you agree with, who you disagree with, and get ready to hear our picks for the UFC Chicago pay-per-view. Super excited for that. Thanks for listening.